To me, the most fascinating thing about history isn't remembering a specific date. It's not about a single battle or even a single event that happened. It's about the ripples it creates. Nat Turner's rebellion is one of those events where the ripples are really still affecting us today, especially if you were to go to Southampton County, Virginia. I think before we start talking about Nat Turner in specifics, we should take a look at the institution of slavery. This first map that I'm going to show you is an animated map that shows you the population, the percentage of the enslaved population from 1790 to 1860. All right, the deeper, the darker the red, the higher the percentage of enslaved. So you can see two things from this map. You can see how slavery expanded west as the United States expanded. If you really look at the map, you can find those territories that had slavery and those that did not. But as you look at the deep dark reds, okay, you see a lot along the Mississippi River. Okay, you see a lot in Georgia moving west. That should ring a bell when we talked about the Indian Removal Act of 1830. What was happening? What crop were the Southerners hoping to grow? What grew well in that area? Why did we need that? Right? And if we look at Virginia over here, in this southeastern Virginia, you see it's particularly red. Okay? And that tells you that that is the higher percentage of enslaved population. Okay, so when we talk about the impact of Nat Turner's rebellion, the response kind of changes based on what the percentage of your enslaved population is. You're going to view it in a different way. Another way to look at this population density is here is the 1860 census, and it shows all free people, okay, whether they are white, whether they are African American, and it should basically look exactly opposite of what the other map was showing us. So the deeper, darker colors are still the higher percentage, higher density of people, but it's going to be the exact reverse of what we saw up above, because the deeper, darker reds from the other map was the higher percentage of enslaved. So the lighter the color here is the smaller percentage of free people. Okay, so that should make a lot of sense. If we're looking over here along the Mississippi River, okay, the percentage of free people, non-enslaved people, is less. Okay, if we look here in Virginia, it's not as small as it is in other locations, but it's still a relatively low number. Okay, it's the inverse, it's the opposite of what we were seeing in the other map. So Southampton County, Virginia, where is it? We're going to start by orienting ourselves with some place that we're very familiar with, and that would be H.G. Hill Middle School. Here it is, a place we know and love. Now, to get to Southampton County, you would zoom out and basically follow this line about 10 hours east and a little bit north. You would end up in Southampton County, which is southern Virginia. It actually goes right to the North Carolina border. And the county seat, the biggest town in Southampton County, is a place called Cortland. If you take a moment to study the aerial of what you see here, probably hasn't really changed all that much since 1831. We are looking at a very rural, very agricultural area. You can see the Nottoway River goes through. It's actually very swampy back there. In a few minutes, you're going to see exactly what I mean. But let's go check out some of the sites on the ground. Driving on the side roads of Southampton County, it isn't hard to imagine how things were in 1831. Come through during the right season, these fields are full of cotton and tobacco. But today, I'm looking for signs of Nat Turner and his 1831 rebellion.
It was the end of a 20-mile ride where 58 whites were murdered. Twice as many African Americans were later executed without trial. Turner himself would be hanged for starting the insurrection.
Nat Turner is my great-great-great third-great-grandfather.
Bruce Turner grew up in these very hills and views what happened here as a battle for basic human rights.
Nat Turner saw it as something wrong. He decided to do something about it. It was horrific. It created a lot of pain for both sides, and he paid the price for it.
So did the Francis family, who lost 17 members that night in 1831.
It almost wiped us all out.
But Jeff Francis is rebuilding the house where another slave named Red saved his great-great-great-grandmother and his family tree.
Red came and grabbed Lavinia up and put her in this cubby hole, put a bunch of quilts and blankets and all in front of her, and the insurrectionists came up through the house, and they never found her. So that's what saved our entire family.
Jeff's brother Rick is a Southampton County Circuit Court clerk. He showed us the actual sword used by Turner during the rebellion. Francis says that Turner lit the fuse of revolution with a cosmic vision, but in the end,
they were driven by the desire to be free.
A desire that led to the ultimate price.
He managed to achieve freedom by dying here, because when he died, he was owned by no one. So in essence, Nat did die a free man.
While it is accurate to say Nat Turner was a cold-blooded killer, many people are pointing out he was also a preacher known for his intelligence. But he was born into a system that made him someone's property, leading many to ask, why are some who fight for freedom celebrated while others are vilified? Standing at the spot where Turner delivered his sermons and knowing how his story ends, it's a very heavy question. And they met somewhere off of this road, so driving down, kind of seeing the sights. You can't say that I am not dedicated. Going down gravel dirt roads in the middle of nowhere, Virginia, trying to travel on the trail of Nat Turner. Farm equipment. Okay. I'm not entirely sure what I thought I would find on this journey, but I ended up at the intersection of some very different points of view. Nat Turner lived and died here, violently pushing to end slavery. Dred Scott was born here and went on to challenge slavery in the courts. Meanwhile, a monument at the courthouse sports a new plaque blaming the war on Northern invaders. Clearly, this is a discussion that needs to be continued.